former child star slams P. Diddy with a disturbing civil lawsuit.
Welcome back to my channel, guys. Today we're covering some serious and trending updates surrounding Diddy. Reports have recently surfaced suggesting that LAPD is looking into multiple potential charges connected to him, and whenever there are multiple allegations or charges under consideration, discussions around a possible RICO case often start coming up, although nothing has been officially confirmed yet. This news comes right after a new John Doe lawsuit was filed against Diddy, in which the anonymous plaintiff alleges that Diddy gave them a substance at a Hollywood party and
he alleges the singer sexually assaulted him at a Hollywood party. Speculation is stirring about who this star could be.
Then took advantage of them afterward. The lawsuit further claims that the individual was a minor at the time of the alleged incident and describes a disturbing situation where they were allegedly pulled into Diddy's circle under questionable circumstances. What makes this case even more interesting is that the John Doe is reportedly not a random person, but a former child star and public figure, which is why they are keeping their identity hidden due to possible career and personal consequences. At this stage, the identity remains unknown and online speculation is already spreading, but it's important to remember that these are only allegations mentioned in court filings and nothing has been proven in court yet. As this story continues to develop, more details are expected to come out soon, so stay tuned for updates. But the newest allegation in the Diddy case comes from an unexpected source, a former child star who claims that Diddy engaged in serious misconduct at a Hollywood party while he was still underage. This allegation raises several major questions, including whether these claims could potentially lead to additional criminal charges, and whether any of Diddy's previous legal issues could impact or strengthen the seriousness of this new civil case. It also raises questions about how this lawsuit fits into the broader collection of other civil cases already filed against him. However,
The newest allegation in the Diddy case comes from an unlikely source, a former child star who says Diddy performed oral sex on him at a Hollywood party when he was still underage. And this brings forth a whole host of questions. Like, for instance, could P. Diddy face more criminal charges relating to these accusations? Is his current conviction relevant to these accusations? I mean, does it bolster them? Where does this civil case fall in line with the rest of the civil cases he's already up against? And above all, who is this celebrity child star? Well, the latter question is all speculation because the former child star has filed the lawsuit under John Doe. So we don't have an actual name, but we do know that it's a male who was reportedly already famous when the alleged incident.
However, one of the biggest mysteries remains the identity of the individual behind the John Doe filing. At this stage, the name has not been revealed, as the plaintiff has chosen to remain anonymous. What is known from the court documents is that the person is male and was already a known child actor at the time the alleged incident took place. Additional details suggest that their acting career began around 2004, which has led to widespread online speculation about who this celebrity could be, although nothing has been confirmed and it remains purely guesswork at this point. Because this individual is a former child actor and reportedly already a known public figure, some people believe it adds a layer of credibility to the allegations, since it raises the question of why someone with an established reputation would risk coming forward with such serious claims under a John Doe identity unless there was a strong reason behind it. From that perspective, it's hard to understand what a celebrity would realistically gain from making false accusations, especially when it could potentially damage their name.
His career acting in about 2004. Plaintiff, meaning John Doe, immediately began working in the entertainment industry, securing initial roles that provided early professional exposure and experience. The lawsuit alleges the boy was on some high-profile shows, but it doesn't specify which shows. It does, however, say the alleged incident happened involving Diddy back in 2007, meaning the boy would have had about 3 years experience in Hollywood at the time. Now, according to the filing, the boy reached out to his agents for help with his career, and this is common in Hollywood. They arranged different networking events where he could go and mingle and meet people, and it was all basically to build visibility with other actors, directors, and celebrities. And that, according to the court docs, is how he met P. Diddy in 2007 at one such networking event in the Hollywood Hills. The suit titles this section as, quote, "the attack on plaintiff," describing what allegedly happened. According to the child star, he started off at the party by mingling with people and then noticed P. Diddy talking to some other actors who were in the crowd, but eventually, Diddy allegedly approached the boy. Diddy and the boy began talking about his career, and then Diddy said the boy could be a good candidate for an upcoming project. Defendant Combs told plaintiff he wanted to speak to him privately about some potential opportunities that defendant Combs had in mind for plaintiff. Defendant Combs guided plaintiff to the back rooms of the event. Defendant Combs and plaintiff went into one of the back rooms together. Defendant Combs shut the door to the back room behind them. At this point, Diddy allegedly gave the boy some alcohol. And I want to pause here to note, if you followed the P. Diddy trial at all, you know that multiple witnesses testified that Diddy allegedly plied them with alcohol that was sometimes drugged. Multiple other civil lawsuits allege that Diddy forced survivors to drink alcohol that had allegedly been drugged in order to sexually assault them. According to this most recent filing, John Doe alludes to a similar situation. He says that Diddy gave him some alcohol and then allegedly began touching him and rubbing inappropriate parts of his body. Unexpectedly, defendant Combs started to touch plaintiff. First, defendant Combs began to rub on plaintiff's arm. Plaintiff told defendant Combs that he did not feel comfortable with the way defendant Combs was touching him. Defendant Combs tried to relax plaintiff and continued to touch plaintiff, moving his hands down plaintiff's body, beginning with touching his arm and then down to his stomach. It all culminated with Diddy allegedly performing oral on the boy, who once again was a child.
Name and career if the claims are disproven in court. Unlike an average person who might be perceived as seeking attention or financial gain, a known figure already has public recognition and arguably more to lose than to gain in a situation like this. However, it's still important to note that the lawsuit also names additional parties beyond Diddy himself, including a talent agency that is alleged to have played a role in facilitating the environment where these incidents may have occurred, with claims that minors were placed in situations that they should not have been in. The filing includes specific references to dates and circumstances, which has led some commentators to argue that the case appears more detailed and structured than typical vague allegations. At the same time, none of these claims have been proven in court, and all parties involved are still entitled to due process as the legal proceedings continue. According to the lawsuit, John Doe began working in the entertainment industry around 2004 and had already gained experience through various acting roles and high-profile projects before the alleged incident took place in 2007. The filing states that during this time he was actively involved in Hollywood networking events arranged through his agents, which are commonly used for young actors to connect with industry professionals and expand their careers. It is alleged that one such networking event in the Hollywood Hills is where he first met Diddy. According to the complaint, Diddy spoke with him about his career and suggested possible opportunities, later leading him to a private room under the pretense of discussing work-related matters. The lawsuit further alleges that once inside, alcohol was provided to him and he was subjected to inappropriate physical contact despite expressing discomfort, with the situation reportedly escalating further into non-consensual conduct. However, it is important to remember that these are only allegations made in a civil filing. They have not been proven in court, and all individuals involved are entitled to due process as the case continues. If you look at it from a critical point of view, some people argue that it would be extremely risky for someone like Diddy to allegedly commit such an act in a public setting where other people were present, especially with someone he had just met. The argument is that in a crowded party environment, there would always be a chance of being seen, interrupted, or even the victim immediately reacting and exposing what happened, which makes the situation seem unlikely to some defenders. However, others strongly disagree and say that the details in the allegations, including being touched
himself. Defendant Combs then pulled up his pants and told plaintiff he would see where they would go from there for the role that he had in mind for defendant Combs's project. Plaintiff was in shock and pulled his clothing back up. After this, the boy was left completely alone. According to the lawsuit, he was in total shock, so he waited for his ride to come and then he left. P. Diddy is listed as a defendant in the lawsuit, but so too are some of the talent agencies for their alleged involvement. The child star alleges it was their duty to protect him, and they didn't. In fact, the adult agents allegedly didn't even attend the party and instead encouraged this child star to go alone without a chaperone. Plaintiff is informed and believes, and thereon alleges, that defendant Combs and agents spoke prior to the event in order to conspire to create an event disguised as an industry meeting in order to provide defendant Combs with an opportunity to come into contact with minor children like plaintiff. Plaintiff believes that the agents knew that Diddy had a reputation for sexually assaulting children and urged the boy to attend the party anyway. Now, this lawsuit was filed on Monday, June 8th in Los Angeles Superior Court, bringing forth a slew of allegations, including childhood sexual assault, sexual battery, negligence, intentional infliction of emotional distress, false imprisonment, violation of the Ralph Civil Rights Act, negligent supervision of a minor, and sexual harassment under Civil Code 51.9. Either way, P. Diddy himself has completely denied the allegations. His team told local TV station KTLA-5 the accusations are, quote, false and ridiculous. His team released a statement saying, quote, "He's just another hater in a long list of people trying to get in on the money gravy train encouraged by personal injury lawyers. Mr. Combs has never sexually assaulted anyone, and that includes any child. These allegations will be disproved like all the rest." So that's Diddy's stance, but according to the LA Times, investigators on the West Coast are taking a closer look at all of these allegations. The Times reports the LA County District Attorney's Office has been reviewing sexual assault allegations against P. Diddy, and that the LAPD and Sheriff's Department have presented two separate cases for possible criminal charges. So is this John Doe case involved? Could P. Diddy face additional charges, maybe even state charges out of California?
Taken into a separate room, the use of alcohol, and the involvement of specific timelines and additional parties make the claims more serious and harder to dismiss outright. From that perspective, they believe the inclusion of dates, locations, and supporting accusations involving other individuals or organizations gives the case more weight than typical vague claims. Meanwhile, reports also suggest that LAPD believes there may be enough evidence to consider potential charges related to multiple serious allegations, although it has not been confirmed whether this specific John Doe case is directly connected to any ongoing criminal proceedings. At this stage, everything remains under investigation, and no formal conclusions have been made in court. Good news and bad news when it comes to this situation. On one hand, the fact that attempts to move forward with charges have not yet resulted in anything formal leads some people to believe the case may not be as strong or straightforward as it first appeared, since in many cases solid evidence usually leads to quicker legal action. However, on the other hand, this does not necessarily mean the investigation is over, as authorities could still be building and refining their case behind the scenes, especially in complex situations involving multiple allegations and potential victims. In high-profile cases like this, it is not unusual for investigators to continue gathering evidence over time before making any final decision on charges. At the same time, there is a lot of public speculation about how the situation could develop if more evidence or additional accusations come forward, but none of this has been confirmed and it remains only discussion at this stage. Legally speaking, this is still a civil lawsuit, which means the burden of proof lies with the plaintiff, and proving events that allegedly happened many years ago can be challenging due to limited physical evidence or records. Another key point is the use of John Doe anonymity, which protects the plaintiff's identity in public but does not necessarily mean legal teams are completely unaware of who is involved, as that information can still be accessible during the legal process. Overall, the case is still ongoing and unresolved, and no final conclusions can be drawn until the courts reach a decision.